Hey guys, I'm Matt with Meat Church. Let's make a Texas style brisket. Well, not my outdoor kitchen today. I'm here at Meat Church headquarters. We're gonna be prepping in our mobile kitchen today. So I'm teaching you a traditional Texas style brisket. I'm gonna show you how I trim it, how I season it, how we smoke it, which we're gonna do this on a big 1,000-gallon smoker to be super traditional Texas, but you can replicate this on any type of cooker you have, whether it's a smaller smoker, pellet grill, kamado grill, whatever you got. Then we're gonna show you how we rest it and hold it, and ultimately how we slice it. We gotta do about 2 dozen because these are for the Dallas Cowboys, so let's go inside and prep. All right, well, we have brisket trim videos on the channel. I'll put a card up here for that. I'm gonna overview what we're gonna do on this one real quickly. So first thing, I like to trim with a brisket slicer. I used to use a boning knife, but I gravitated to this years ago. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but a lot more real estate. Once you get used to it, you get things done a lot quicker. But overview, I want to remove this entire decal here, so I'll cut that off. I like to clean up the edge, and then I flip it over. And this is what I call the mohawk right here. I take that down. You can do that one of 2 ways. You can either do a long slice this way. Some people prefer to slice down this direction to round, whatever your preference is. And then the excess fat on this brisket is going to be right through here. I'm going to take that down about 1/4 inch. And then basically we want to shape it. So where the flat is really thin, the flat or the lean, this will really overcook if you leave it just like this. So we're going to round that out, makes it a little thicker, and keeps any pointy stuff from burning up. And some of you may say at the end like, hey, that was a pretty aggressive trim. No doubt, this is a traditional Texas trim. When you trim it perfect, then every slice that comes off of it is going to be perfect. And we're going to use all our trim. We don't waste anything. We can put it in smash burgers. We can put it in ground meat for things like spaghetti. We can make sausage with it, so there'll be no waste. We get 100% utilization out of this. In fact, we take all the fat and we render that down into tallow. So I'm going to trim it up. Briskets are all trimmed up. It's time to slather and season. The Texas standard is yellow mustard, so hence Whataburger mustard. Use whatever mustard you want. So we're gonna slather this on. Mustard is a way for your seasoning to adhere now and also stay adhered during the cook. Doesn't take much. Let's talk about seasoning. Normally I do this in a bus bin, but I'm just gonna roll through this since we're doing it on video. Holy cow, one of the most popular brisket rubs in the country. It's salt, pepper, garlic, just a hint of paprika for color, but it's 16 mesh pepper. People think that Texas barbecue is just salt and pepper. That's definitely the base, but generally there's a little more in it than that. Nobody's gonna argue about having a little garlic in it. So on the bottom side or the meat side, I'll go what I call moderate, and on the fat side, I go pretty heavy. So pepper catches smoke. It's really how you help develop bark. And then if you're doing this at home, you're gonna see, I'm gonna put these in the fridge. This is day one. We're actually cooking these tomorrow. So we're doing our prep today. We're gonna put these in the fridge. I like to let it adhere. I recognize not everybody has that kind of refrigeration space, so if you don't, let it adhere for at least an hour. So you can kind of pat it in, flip it over. We're gonna go pretty heavy on this side. So this coarse pepper catches smoke, takes more seasoning than you think, actually. And if you're making your own seasoning, using different types of seasoning, I would put the coarse cracked pepper on first, put your bigger seasonings down first, and then come back with your salt, your garlic, and things like that. Also, if you're layering seasonings, a lot of people love to do 2-to-1 Meat Church, Holy Cow to Meat Church, Holy Gospel. That's very popular in competition and at home. You've seen me doing it on briskets on this channel before. Put your Holy Cow down first, and you can see that's pretty liberal. There's really not a lot of white left. The yellow mustard helps you kind of see that. Make sure you pat it in. And then I'm gonna let this adhere until it's nice and wet. That's the salt pulling the moisture out of the brisket. And then I'm gonna put it in the fridge. So this is day one of a 3-day process for us. These are all going in the fridge overnight. I like seasoning on the night before. We're cooking these, I think, like 5 in the morning tomorrow to be served the next day. We'll cover all that in this video. If you don't have that kind of refrigeration space, let it adhere at least an hour if you can. But I love doing the prep the night before. So I'm going to let this adhere, and then into the fridge we go. Well, it's bright and early on day 2. It's 5 a.m. here at headquarters. Obviously a long day to cook briskets, so got to get started early. So we're lighting a fire in our 1,000-gallon mill scale smoker, probably my favorite part of the cook process. So I put down a big coal bed, got a couple logs on the bottom facing towards me for airflow, a couple more on top. Takes a lot to get this thing going. We have a fire management video on this channel. I'm sure most people are cooking on a little smaller smoker, but when you're cooking for an NFL team, you need a big rig. It rained last night, so this wood's wet. Gonna grab a couple logs here. We're gonna put them in the first door to act as a fire blocker. We always get asked that on social media. That way the direct heat kind of hits these and doesn't go right at the briskets. All right, I like to load my briskets up while the pit is still coming up to temp, and that's because if you've got the time, I like to put briskets on and let them smoke around 200 degrees. Some people call it cold smoking. It's not technically cold smoking. It's not low enough temperature, but again, if you have the time and a couple extra hours, I like to put the briskets in while the temperature's low and just kind of let them absorb smoke. In my opinion, it really helps set that great bark later in the cook. So in we go. Let's talk a little bit about the orientation of my briskets. So the exterior of your pit, so the walls are warmer. So normally I will try to take the thicker or fattier side and put towards the wall or in the middle. If you can do that, I know not everybody is cooking on a 1,000-gallon. Also, I orient the fattier side towards the fire. So as the fire is coming into the brisket, it will hit this end first. Depending on your trim and the brisket you got, if you have a fat cap on the end, it's gonna offer a little more protection. So watch that when you're trimming. If not, you're gonna really wanna use a lot of aluminum foil. You'll see later in the cook, we'll have foil caps on the ends of the brisket to help protect it from that heat. Well, briskets are on. Again, I know not everybody has this cooker. That's not important. We're gonna be talking technique through this whole video so you can do this on your one brisket. And a little bit about my background and why I cook the way I cook. I'm blessed to know everybody in barbecue. People jokingly call me the Adam Schefter of barbecue, where the who's who of barbecue are willing to tell me what they do. They don't really see me as a threat. They know I'm, just trying to educate you guys. And no matter what I tell you, you still have to cook it. We get comments on social media when people don't like a recipe I put out and they say they don't like it. And I'm like, man, I can't cook it for you. But back to this, we're gonna let these hang out in the smoke for a couple hours. It's kind of like, I think when people ask me, do you put your steaks or your brisket on the counter and let them come up to room temp? Well, we're doing one better than that. They're coming up to temp here nice and slow, taking on a lot of smoke. And again, after a couple hours, we're gonna take that fire up to about 250 degrees. We're smoking with post oak. I make a Central Texas Style Barbecue, which is made with post oak. You could also use mesquite, hickory, pecan. You want a big hardwood like that. And then we're gonna ride 250 degrees. We may spritz with cider vinegar if it needs spritzing. We're gonna put foil caps on the ends of the brisket. You'll see that throughout the day. The thing about Meat Church, we don't fake videos. This is all real. You're gonna be with us throughout the day. So we'll show you the kind of transformation of these briskets in this cooker throughout the day. And then when we get the bark that I like, which is generally in the 180s, low 180s or so, then that's when we're gonna wrap in butcher paper. So we'll see you guys for that step a little bit later, but I'm gonna kind of check on my fire and then just watch these throughout the day. We'll show you guys a little tip. We're still rocking low, 200 degrees. So when you're trimming, I love to trim off the edge. That way, if possible, you can leave this fat cap on the outside for this added protection. Now, depending where you got your brisket, you might not always have that luxury. Like this one didn't have fat over here. But if you're in a cooker, such as this, or maybe even a smaller one, and this is near the wall, this is gonna give you that added protection. So this is the 1/4 inch fat, just like people worry about the 1/4 inch fat up here. So you want that protection so that it won't get too crispy during the cook. Now that we've rolled for a couple hours, let's increase the temp to 250. Well, we have a nice coal bed here. You can see all the wood's burned down. Pro tip on this. So cooking barbecue comes from the residual heat. You don't want like a harsh fire with like a huge flame on top of it. So, and also a coal bed like this really helps you maintain a really good fire. So now that we're increasing it, we're gonna add in some splits here. So Chef Gavin is gonna load some post oak in here. At this point, we're gonna let this temp keep riding. Probably gonna take a couple more across the top to get where we need to go. That depends on your type of cooker, but this is the fun part of what we do. And if you don't have a 1,000-gallon smoker in your backyard, say you're a pellet grill guy, good news for you. I'm gonna put a card up here for our pellet grill video, which at the time of filming has over 4 million views. It's definitely considered kind of an authority on a great way to cook a Texas style brisket on a pellet grill, so you guys give that a view. So you see the difference in these briskets here. You got good fat cap protection here towards the fire. We don't so much on these other two. So anytime you have that, foil is gonna be your friend. So a little bit into the cook, we don't want that to get crispy. We'll just cap off the end. And these are just foil wraps like that you would wrap a hot dog in. We're about 10 hours into the cook. We've kind of rotated our briskets. We've capped them off with foil. They're starting to get really great bark. One little tip here, when you start to puddle like this, if you see a puddle, that is from the real thin part of the brisket kind of puckering up during the cook. And anytime you see that, you can just lift it up, let it kind of run off. That'll slow down your bark development. I like to temp down here in the flat, see how it's doing. We're in the 160s. I like to get at least 15 more degrees, if not 20. So we're gonna be wrapping in probably like 1.5 to 2 hours or so. We'll spend a couple more hours, just temp the brisket. It's almost 180, it's looking good, it's time to wrap. I'll show you that in a second. So I like to wrap in butcher paper. 3 ways really I say that you can wrap. You can go butcher paper, which allows your brisket to breathe, so all that bark that you built will kind of stay intact. If you're in a time crunch, you can either wrap in 2 pieces of heavy duty aluminum foil. Third option, you could put it in a pan with aluminum foil. I love that method. Or heck, here's a 4th one. You can do the foil boat method. So just depending on what your preference is. But if you're running behind, you can go foil to get it finished. And then you can open up the foil at the end for about 15 minutes, get a lot of the bark back. So that's a method that a lot of people use. In fact, we've got a video from my buddy Joe Zavala where we did a comparison of briskets finished in paper versus foil. They both work great, just different tools for different times. 18-inch paper is my preference. I don't like 24. 18s is standard in Texas barbecue. Kind of do 2 arm lengths. Just kind of riff it off. And I'm gonna slightly overlap it. And I take my spray bottle, which this is still cider vinegar for my cook. Use water, whatever you want. And I like to spray my paper down, makes it more pliable, easy to wrap around. And I'm gonna leave this here to kind of hold it down while I grab this brisket. Just pulled the foil caps off and I checked the temperature so I can kind of show you what this one looks like. So here we go. It's getting really dark. It's not really that kind of black yet. Well, bark will continue to develop. And so I like to feel around to see how the cook was, especially down here. We talked earlier about is there a fat cap or not. This is still really soft up here. Obviously, I cook fat side up. That's the traditional Texas way. You know, when I started out cooking briskets from the comp world, I cooked meat side up. We consider that upside down in the Texas world. Texas makes the best brisket in the world, in my opinion, so I'm not gonna argue with that. I love the rendered fat on top. When you take your bite, that can't be beat, so that's what I like. I give the brisket a little spritz, keeps it from sticking to the paper. I don't tallow. You can if you want. You can put a little right here. If you're gonna tallow, also have a video on tallow versus no tallow. If you're gonna tallow, you need to season extra because tallow will mellow out that seasoning and it'll kind of dull it down. So this is a tried and true method. Come right over the top and just kind of tuck it underneath. My buddy Leonard at Truth calls this the paper football method. You want it nice and tight underneath, okay? Fold over. Fold over this side. Keep everything tight. So if you ever had a kid, it's like swallowing a baby. Over we go. Paper's a little long. Pull it tight. One more time. You're good to go. Perfect wrap. I'm gonna go back in the smoker. Now, to finish the cook-off, I increased the temperature to 275 or even 300. I think it takes a higher heat to render out those last fats, so that's what I like to do. And if I didn't say this earlier, cooking, use all your senses. You know, when you get to this, before you get to the wrap stage, move your briskets around. They're starting to look too, you know, done on one side or, you know, one smaller than the other. You've got hottest down by the firebox and by the stack on your cooker. If you're running a pellet grill, you know, you're gonna have a fire pot right in the middle. Be smart. Look at your brisket, see how it's doing. Feel it throughout the cook. Get yourself cotton gloves with latex pulled on top so you can feel it, move it around. We're going back in, After I wrap all these up, I'm gonna stoke the fire up and ramp it up over 275. And what we're doing there is we're going till it's tender. I'll show you how I feel it, but we're also gonna use instant read. I'm always checking right in the flat. The lean takes longer to cook than the fatty. If I cook it to perfection in the lean, I like where the fatty's at, but I also do kind of a grip test. I'll show you that in a bit. Well, it's been a couple hours. Some of the briskets are finishing. I'm gonna grab those and show you how I know they're done. All right, now when I teach barbecue and how to make brisket, this part I find kind of difficult to show you even in person, but what I like to do is where the flat and point come together, I squeeze it. So let me turn my hand around here towards camera. I do this and I can feel, it's hard to describe, it's just, it's squishy. And you know, kind of flex it. You know, when you're making one brisket at home, that's gonna be really hard to show you that, but I can tell that it feels really tender. Now take my instant read thermometer. Just like throughout the cook, I'm always temping in the flat. So I'm gonna go right here in the heart of the flat, and I'm at 204, 203, 203, 204. So that's a good sanity check for me. You can check in a few places, but I'm not going to just because I felt around it. I don't temp in the point. The point's fattier. My philosophy, if I cook the flat where it needs to be, the point will be there. So I like where this is at. So let's talk about what we're gonna do from here. I've got these on a full sheet pan. I'm gonna take them in my kitchen and I'm gonna rest them at ambient temperature like this for a couple hours, so they're gonna come down. Then, big tip, they're gonna go in a warmer, 145 degrees overnight. So it's evening time, obviously the sun just set. We're serving these at lunchtime tomorrow. This brisket will improve as it sits in a 145 degree warmer. A lot of you don't have something that'll do 145. Up to you if you wanna go try to find a little warmer for your garage, but pellet grills go down to 165, ovens go to 170, 175. That's a little too hot, but this brisket, as I said, will get better the longer it holds. So in the trailer we go, and we'll see y'all back in a couple hours. The briskets are probably down around 150. I'm gonna show you one last tip. Not everybody does this, but I like to wrap my briskets in food service film. This is something I learned from Wayne Miller years ago when he brought some beef ribs to an event that we did. So it just kind of helps keep the bark a little softer. Don't want to do this until it rests down though. So just complete coverage, and then we're gonna go into the warmer. All right, 99 in the warmer. See you guys tomorrow at the Star to feed the Dallas Cowboys. We're here at the training table. It's where the players eat. We've got our brisket in the warmer. You saw these last night. So obviously we're going to unwrap this, bring it out of its paper, show you how to slice it. Ooh, she's a beauty. Woo. All right. I always say squeeze this out. You know, if you want to squeeze any excess, tallow, anything like that you got on your brisket, you can certainly pour that across the top. You probably need an apron on when you got one squirting like this. It's a good idea to have tallow on your block. This is a brand new block. We're about to be doing, as you know, 24 of these today. So definitely be a lot of tallow on this going forward. You know, how to slice a brisket, I kind of come to where the point and flat come together, make a big incision. First slice is always right there. And then, they always say don't squeeze your meat. Now, I don't do that, but I do want to show you the process. We've spent a lot of time together in this video, all these tips, and you can see here, I'm barely pressing it. I mean, I'm just basically, that's the weight of my hand on that. I'm not pressing it down. This is just a mountain of juice. And the way to properly slice a brisket, the grain runs two different directions in a flat and a point. So the easy way to show you is basically slice it like this. The grain can actually kind of come diagonal, so a lot of people kind of come this direction. It helps it stay together when you slice against the grain. I do kind of thin slices here on the flat or the lean, and then go a little bit thicker in the point. because that helps a fattier cut stay together a little better. You want it just falling down like that. And I'm gonna pick one up and show you a little example here after I make a couple slices. Really what I'm looking for is properly rendered fat. So you want the fat to be the kind of like nice brown fat right here. Love it, super juicy obviously. But I'm a fan of the fatty. So you can go your traditional burn-ins or like right here on the edge. Burn-ins developed by Arthur Bryant in Kansas City back in the day. Playboy wrote an article on them. Whew. Once they did that, they used to be free line snacks. People coming through the line, hand you free burn-ins. Like this right here, the best bite in barbecue right here. Goodness. It's absolutely delicious. A little bit thicker here. When I'm ordering barbecue, when I'm ordering brisket, this is what I'm getting right here. Whew, got all that fatty in there. I'll show you this one. And it's gonna be time to feed a bunch of professional football players. And I always lay my brisket down so it doesn't oxidize. Man, look how moist that is. I mean, just juice, juice, juice. It's no better. Melt in your mouth. Team's not gonna be mad at that. I ain't mad at it. It's been a ton of fun. First time we've shot a 3-day video, so appreciate you guys being here. We got like 20 brisket videos. I'll put the playlist up here. Every tip you wanna know. If you like what we're doing, like and subscribe. Every Wednesday we're dropping no frills, just how-to videos, trying to encourage you guys to get outside and to cook. See you guys next week.